Hello and a very good afternoon to all our viewers who are joining me live in this Facebook and YouTube interaction. And today I will be speaking about the revised guidelines for domestic flights. Well, earlier the Civil Aviation Ministry had imposed a few restrictions on domestic flights, such as serving pre-packed food and also some of the other measures which will be implied to those who are using the flight services in the domestic platform. Now, the Civil Aviation Ministry has, in its latest move, permitted the airlines to serve pre-packed food, snacks, meals and even beverages on domestic flights after consulting with all the stakeholders. And the ministry has also warned that any passenger who refuses to wear a face mask in a flight can be put on the no-fly list by the airline. But however, you can remove your mask for very general purposes like eating or drinking water. So if you remove your mask for those purposes, you wouldn't be punished. But before we get to that, here are the new flying rules that you should know before you board a domestic flight. So when it comes to the meal service, the airlines have been allowed to provide meal services on board, which was previously restricted by the Civil Aviation Ministry due to the pandemic outbreak. And now airlines may also serve pre-packed snacks, meals, pre-packed beverages as per the policy of the airlines, depending on the duration of the flight time, subject to the following conditions which I will be talking about. So the first condition is, in all the classes, tray setup, plates and cutlery will be completely disposable with no reuse or cleaned, or these will be cleaned, disinfected, and these will be used as the rotatables, which is that after a person uses it, it will be cleaned, it will be sanitized, and then it will be given to another person to consume his or her meal. And the second condition is that used disposable trays, crockeries or even cutleries will not be reused, and these used rotatable cutleries shall be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected before reuse, like I mentioned earlier. And in all classes, tea, coffee, non-alcoholic beverage services will be in disposable cans, containers, bottles and even glasses. There will be no pouring service, and beverages will be served in a single-use disposable unit, because as you've seen reports that even the frequently used materials like reusable glasses and even plates can also increase the risk of COVID-19. So in order to avoid that particular risk, they have clearly mentioned, the Civil Aviation Ministry has clearly mentioned that rotatables will be disposed of after the first use and it will not be reused again. If it is reused, it will be only in the case of food but not in the case of beverages. So all the used disposable and rotatable meal cutlery will be disinfected and cleaned before the next use. So the next condition is that the crew shall wear a fresh set of gloves for every meal or beverage service. And if they fail to do so, even they will be subjected to strict action by the Civil Aviation Ministry. So protocols must be followed by even passengers and also the flight attendants. And when it comes to the passengers, they would be informed of the above rules for strict compliance before the start of entering services by way of passenger announcement. So before you board the flight, there will be announcements which will be made in the flight and also in the airport lobby in order to enlighten or educate the domestic air travelers about the latest rules and regulations. So when it comes to in-flight entertainment, wherever available, the entertainment services will be switched on and it will be subject to strict compliance of a few guidelines, which is the wipe down of an individual IFE with approved cleaning agents, and all IFEs will be cleaned and disinfected prior to boarding of the passengers. Disposable earphones or cleaned and disinfected headphones will be provided to passengers at the start of the journey, because frequently used surfaces also carry the risk of COVID-19. COVID-19 will last on these surfaces, such as the earphones and also the headphones, the TV sets, which will be mounted on seats in flight. So in order to avoid the risk of COVID-19 spreading on flight, the Civil Aviation Ministry has said that each and every entertainment material available on the flight will be disinfected and also sanitized before it is given to another passenger for use. And apart from that, each of the seat in the flight will have its own dedicated, in-flight entertainment, which will be used only by the passenger occupying that particular seat. So suppose some of your neighbors who wouldn't be wanting to use the entertainment services, they will they will not have to use it at all. So for you in your seat, whatever services is provided, you can use it, and there will be no sharing, because one person to another person sharing of materials is strictly prohibited on the flight. And there will also be social distancing protocol that will also be followed, which is maintaining the mid seats empty. Some flights will have them and some flights won't, but nevertheless social distancing is also very important. And more than everything, over and above standard operating procedure for aircraft, interior cleaning has also been prioritized. All passenger touch points will be carefully cleaned and disinfected after the flight. So like I mentioned earlier, frequently touched surfaces are under the spotlight again, because when it comes to air travel, you might be prone to touching the windows, the seats in front of you, or the seats that you are sitting on. So in order to avoid that particular risk, everything will be sanitized after each and every particular journey. So suppose you're taking a flight from Delhi to say Chennai. So once that particular journey is over, the flight will be sanitized. All the frequently touched points will also be cleansed in order to avoid the risk. And the next particular information is that if a passenger fails to wear mask on board a flight, he will be put on the no flying list. And the Directorate General of Civil Aviation Ministry has already given strict warnings to all those violators on board of a flight in order to follow strict protocols, because they don't want to take the slightest of risk, because domestic airlines and also international airlines have been had been put on hold for a few months due to the outbreak. And now when everything is resuming, they wouldn't want their reputation to be tarnished by one particular violator who turns out to be a super spreader in that particular airline. So in order to avoid that particular risk, masks are very important for those who are using domestic flights. And the DGCA has said that passengers who wouldn't wear a mask or refusing to wear a mask on board will be put on the no-fly list, which is that he wouldn't be eligible to fly for a particular period. And this could also be very dangerous, because face masks are the only weapons that we have. And the flyers who refuse to wear a face mask will be put on the no-fly list. And as per the DGCA rules, an airline can choose to put an unruly passenger also on its no-fly list after internal deliberation. Suppose a particular passenger misbehaves in the flight and refuses to adhere to protocols listed out by that particular airline and also the Civil Aviation Ministry. So such nuisance causers can also be put on the no-fly list. Subsequently, other airlines may follow suit in putting the passengers on their no-fly list, and scheduled international passenger flights continue to remain suspended in India since March 23rd, like I mentioned earlier, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, special international flights have been operating under the Vande Bharat mission. Apart from that, domestic airlines is now again back into the spotlight, because these airlines will be flying into COVID-19 hotspots. Like from Karnataka, it may fly to Delhi, which is also a very badly affected state by COVID-19. So in order to avoid that particular risk and also onboard risk, domestic flight operators have been given certain protocols that they will have to follow and ensure that the passengers also in their flight or using those services will follow in order to avoid the risk. So if you are planning to board a domestic flight or take a domestic flight from one place to another, make sure that you follow all these safety and precautionary measures, because each and every life matters, and the only way that we can stay safe is by following all the safety and precautionary measures. But nevertheless, also keep in mind, social distancing is also the need of the hour. So ensure that you are keeping a check on that as well. So with that, it's a wrap on this live interaction. Until next time, please take care and also stay safe.